Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Matchbox Talks. We're here today to discuss the topic of staying married now that you've gone through the entire ordeal and obstacle course of finding a spouse. We are here today with Dr. Banu Murtaza, who is the founder and chief matchmaker at Matchbox, and her husband, Sidi Nader Khan. And the topic we're tackling today is in-laws, the glue that binds or the cracks that break.
Allah, Allah, Allah.
Can I just start by saying, hopefully the process of getting married is no longer an ordeal.
Because of Matchbox. Dun, dun,
Because
dun.
of Matchbox.
So, okay. In-laws.
You just go ahead.
Well, my in-laws are fantastic. I love them. They are fabulous. And I actually don't have to pretend when I say that. They really, really are. But I think, it's often, I hear it so often, that whole, the stereotypes about the mother-in-law
Yes.
and the daughter-in-law,
Right.
and that relationship has to somehow be antagonistic. And I don't think we give enough
Indian
credit.
TV series don't help. Indian TV dramas don't help.
No, I think also
I
that
think it's just a
Yeah.
I think there's lots of
Global
stuff. I think
phenomenon.
there's definitely elder expectation on kids. There's definitely young people or people who have just got married not necessarily giving the same allowance and giving the same leeway that they would to their own parents.
Right.
And there's also unrealistic expectations in some cases, and in some cases there are a genuine feeling of, there's a genuine antagonistic feeling.
Yeah.
Especially, for example, if the son goes and gets married against his parents' wishes, or something like that, or the daughter goes and gets married against her parents' consent, or something, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the first thing I'd say is there's one size doesn't fit all. Sometimes the in-laws are the cracks that break. Sometimes they will break a relationship down, and sometimes they will bind it. I can honestly say, for the first 2 years of my marriage, it wouldn't have survived if my in-laws weren't as fabulous as they are. Because I was able to go into their house and just feel like I was still a little kid and safe and sheltered. And, I had that kind of parental care that I had been used to so much. So in this huge country that Canada is, and very cold country that Canada is, it felt like I still had family. And family is a huge thing to me. So
I mean, you're making it sound like you needed refuge from this horrible husband of yours. So the first 2 years, it wouldn't have survived.
just look over there. Okay. So that kind of no. You're lovely. I love you. You're fabulous.
Yes,
I love it.
of course I am.
So how do you build that relationship? Because obviously at one point your in-laws were total strangers to you. So how do you overcome those potential stereotypes and barriers that we all have, absorbed to some extent?
I think, look, good in-laws are a huge blessing, and alhamdulillah, I'm really blessed, right? I get along like $1 million with my in-laws. And, it takes some time to gel that relationship. They're not going to just wake up in the morning and have a great relationship with you, right? I think it works on both sides. And especially I'm taking her across the ocean. So there's going to be, there's going to be some feelings of
Apprehension, maybe.
Yeah, like you taking away my baby, right? But at the same time, I work hard to keep her happy. That makes them happy. Right, so there's a weird sort of give and take back and forth, right? But both sides need to work towards that relationship, and it can potentially be heaven, or it could possibly be hell.
I was given a really great piece of advice when I got married, and that was stay silent for the first year. And so that's what I did. And I just got to know my in-laws without pushing myself into that relationship. So I got to know what they were like. I got to know how they like to be. I got to know how my mother-in-law kind of likes to be around her space. So I knew
what they laugh at, what they don't laugh at.
Yeah, usually they laugh at him. So that helps, right?
They laugh at everybody.
But that was the thing is knowing that actually that's their humor and they're not picking on you when they're joking about you.
You got to know them as people.
Right. And so because I got to know them without getting really involved as much, and just quietly listening, now I engage fully, but it's...
Yeah, now they all gang up on me. All of them.
and you blame us because...
Well, it's a bit unfair.
Thank you.
Just
Thank you.
Yeah,
We-
okay,
we-
you can balance the scales for about 5 seconds. We'll get him back later. But this is, I think that kind of, so that was the first thing, was just giving them the time. The second was recognizing that my parents and I haven't always had a smooth relationship. You've never had a smooth, you have things where your personality clashes with your
You have
parents, even
bumps.
your own
Yeah.
biological parents, the parents that have raised you, or even the non-biological parents, but people who've raised you, there will be elements of you they don't like, right? And they've learned to get along with it.
And there will be elements of them that throw you off, right?
Yeah, and you have to allow for the fact that your in-laws are going to be the same.
Right.
It's not going to be like, you can't expect your mother-in-law and your father-in-law to like every single aspect about you, and vice versa. But you also have to give them the same respect and the same leeways that you give your own parents. And then thirdly, I think what's really key is you have to keep your partner out of your relationship with your in-laws.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think often there's this thing of, well, my husband has to mediate my relationship with my in-laws, or my wife has to mediate my relationship with her parents. And actually,
it has to be independent.
that doesn't
of that.
work, because what that does is that puts that person in the middle. It's not fair on that person. That person's relationships
This
with
natural allegiance to
everybody
everyone
is
there.
now strained.
He or she is already managing their own personal relationship with everybody, right?
Yeah.
Now they have to manage another one, and all the combinations of all the permutations.
And
of
you're
that,
trying
right?
to have a relationship with a third person attached to it.
To the fewer linkages that
Of
you have to
course.
go
Have a
through.
direct
just have a
relationship
direct
and-
relationship.
And getting your wires crossed is so much easier when you're going through somebody, right? Just like have a direct relationship, so that if I hit a bump in my relationship with somebody from my side of the family, that doesn't affect you, because you're not out of loyalty, doing anything like that. So you have your own line of communication.
And ordinarily, you're able then to also go, no, you're in the wrong, like pack it in, stop
Yeah.
doing that. But you're not in the middle of it. You can
Right.
kind of be an objective
Outsider.
and say, that's not a nice way to speak to your parents. You
Right.
should be nicer or
So
whatever.
balancing, being adults about it,
Absolutely.
right? Being direct with also the respect and the etiquette that we naturally have for our parents and our in-laws by extension.
But also like being silent and learning enough about the culture of the other person's
Before you
family. Before,
make
the more you learn, the more easily you can, blend in and interact.
And that goes both ways too, right? The
Absolutely.
in-laws should be.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So do you find in your services among your clientele that the potential in-laws are part of that discussion, or that is?
I
or is
think
that-
it depends.
Okay.
So, again, it's about the culture of each family. So some clients we have, and like we had this one match where both guy and girl, who are both in their 30s, really, really wanted to get married. And the guy and the girl's father butt heads.
Okay.
And because of that, even though when the guy and the girl got in touch with us and said, it's not going to work, but he's a really great guy and she's a really great girl, and I would really want to marry her and I would really want to marry him, we can't get married because,
of the dad and
because
the parents,
dad has not wanted that to happen. Now, in that situation, part of you kind of thinks, no, just get married. And then the other part of you thinks, actually, that would have been really difficult for that girl to carry on,
Yeah.
And so she made a choice, and she decided that in that situation, respecting dad's wishes was something that she was more comfortable with than not. And so at that point you think, okay, great.
And there's a really, really important side to that, in that how you treat your own parents is very similar to how you will treat my parents.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, if I'm expecting you to treat your own parents in a certain way, or if you, it tells me a whole lot about how, this person will treat my own parents, right? And so if she hadn't done that,
You could make the comment that, what does that mean about our
about how
future?
you will deal with my parents,
Yeah.
right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think with the caveat that that generally the family is a good that they are good people, with that caveat. Because obviously sometimes they can just be mean people, right? And then
Anybody,
in which
yeah.
case that's
And
not
then
going to work.
it's, yeah. not
But
gonna
if, with the caveat that they're generally good people, the recognition that they love their child and want to see their child happy, and therefore just give
Giving
the
people
benefit of the
a
doubt,
benefit.
just respect the fact that if what they're wanting is happiness ultimately, sometimes you just have different paths to it, so you can disagree. Your in-laws will disagree with the way you raise your children.
That's gonna
In
be
fact,
your
grandparents
parents in
grandparents
general.
period
Yeah.
will disagree with how you raise your children, ordinarily because you're not giving
Because
them enough
even if we
sweets.
raise our children exactly like they raise theirs,
It's-
it's not good enough.
It's not good enough. It's not good enough.
No, but then, are you going to take offence at that, or are you going to recognise that actually, all they want is the happiness of their child or grandchild or even yourself in your own marriage, and so they're giving advice. Be respectful, take it where you can.
Even if you don't
Accept,
take it,
like acknowledge it,
gracious
even if
about
you're
it.
not going to take it.
because the underlying concern is different. So at least allay the underlying concern, even if you're not going to take the advice.
Yeah. And just go into it with a better opinion than most people go into.
Because like you were saying the other day, that your in-laws have been with your spouse for 20, 30 years of their lives, right? You just walked in a month ago.
You can't expect
can't
them to
even-
love you the
Yeah.
way they love their child,
Right.
like
And
this.
you
right?
shouldn't expect
I mean, I
yours-
can, because they do.
Yeah.
But on that point, though, you shouldn't expect yourself as well to figure out a relationship overnight.
Of course.
Right? You should give yourself
Of course,
the
absolutely.
time to build a relationship with your
Absolutely.
in-laws in the same way that you're doing with your own
With anybody
spouse.
else.
With anybody else, right?
And you have to ask, what am I putting into my relationship with my in-laws?
Yeah, in the entitlement expectation of, they're not doing X, Y, and Z, they're not doing, what are you bringing to the table? And it's something that needs to be proactively worked towards. It's not something you can sit back and expect to fall into place.
And on the flip side, in-laws also have to have
Of course.
Care and respect and just
for their potential.
for their potential
Absolutely, absolutely.
in daughter-in-law, son-in-law.
It's
great.
a very, very important relationship, and everybody involved should really take the time to invest, time and energy into it.
And nurture it.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. We'd love to hear more from you. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave us some comments below. Thank you and assalamu alaikum.